There was a great columnist at our paper, Mike McAlery, who won a Pulitzer Prize for exposing the Abner Louima torture, the police, the rogue cops who tortured Abner Louima. And Mike was a very good friend of mine. Mike always had a saying, Juan, he'd tell me, there's only two types of stories worth writing. The types of stories that put criminals in jail and the types of stories that get innocent people out of jail. Now, I would always smile and say, Mike, you're younger than I am. You haven't been through the things that I've been through. And you don't understand that the greatest injustices in the world are committed under the cover of the law, not in violation of it. And I've always tried to devote my reporting and my writing to those abuses that may be technically legal, but are morally reprehensible because they take advantage of people who don't have power, don't have connections, and don't have the ability to have their stories told. And that is what I have tried to do. That's what I've tried to do for the past 30 years. The most important thing about being a great journalist is not how well you can write a story, although that's important, or do a live shot, or edit, film. It's not how well you can do an interview. It's not how well you can lay out a page. The most important quality to be a great journalist is to have courage. Courage is the most important thing. Even when public officials or others around you tell you that you're wrong and it's not a story, even when your other competitors don't follow it and you're all out there by yourself and you've got to say, am I crazy? Even when your friends and your family and your fellow citizens tell you, why are you pursuing this? That's when it's most important to show the courage to continue to report things the way you see them, no matter what anybody tells you, no matter how many people tell you. Because, the last year or so, I've chuckled and watching all the television coverage on CNN and MSNBC and a lot of the newspapers, all talking about the anti-war candidate Barack Obama, and all giving this very positive spin on his campaign. And I keep saying to myself, where were these companies? Where was this news coverage when this war was instigated and begun? Why weren't they as critical? Why weren't they as searching at the time when it really would have mattered, when it could have saved lives, when it could have affected how the public saw what our government was doing? Because the greatest test of a journalist, the greatest test, is when your country goes to war. Because throughout the history of civilization, governments have always needed to convince their people in time of war to support the war. Why else would the people send their sons and daughters to be killed if they could not be convinced that a war is just? But in every war that has ever occurred throughout history, at least one side has been in the wrong, and sometimes both are in the wrong for pursuing that war. Yet the governments have needed their press to whip up public frenzy. Remember the Maine, the Gulf of Tonkin, weapons of mass destruction. They always need to whip the public up. And if journalists don't stand independently of what their government says and investigate the facts and try to present to the public the facts so that they can make their own decisions, then we are accomplices. And as much as there is criticism of what has happened now, I raise the primary criticism to us in the press that we didn't do our job when we needed to do it, and as a result, we're facing what we are today. So I urge the young people, keep your courage, most of all, Everything else you can learn. But keep your courage, keep your principles, pursue what you see to be true, pursue the facts as you see them, and you will be able to make contributions like a Francisco Ramirez, like a Jovita Idar, like all the others who came before us, like a Maggie Rivas Rodriguez. You'll be able to make those contributions and even more.